Angela, what is it?
Compelling superhero horror movies that you must try once. Although superhero horror movies have been around for quite some time, they're not often visible on the big screen as much as mainstream superhero films. We've tried to recommend you some of the best superhero horror films that you must watch at least once if you are a horror movie buff.
Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin.
Constantine, 2005. Detective Angela Dodson approaches occult detective John Constantine to help her prove that her twin sister Isabel did not commit suicide. Constantine is a cynic who has the ability to communicate with species that are part angel and part demon. Due to Isabel's faith being a devout Catholic, Angela is convinced that her sister would not take her own life. She approaches John for help due to his skills as a demon hunter. He begins investigating Isabel's death, but soon realizes that demons are attempting to breach the barrier between the world of the living and the dead and enter into the world of the living. Now John must face Satan in a final showdown. Keanu Reeves plays John Constantine in this adaptation of the DC Comics and portrays a relatively accurate rendition of the character, since he has a high energy level, a smoking problem, and a befitting attitude for someone who's been to hell. The film has all the visuals of an occult horror movie, with demons rising from hell and trying to suck Constantine in with them. Rachel Weisz presents a multidimensional performance playing both sisters, Angela and Isabel. The movie witnesses terrific performances by several other top-notch actors like Shia LaBeouf, Tilda Swinton, and Gavin Rossdale. Constantine was music video director Francis Lawrence's first feature film. He has created dreamscapes within the movie that resemble both hell and earth to complement its central theme. Surprisingly, this movie was a massive hit in China and other Asian markets compared to the US and other Western countries. Even though Constantine made a decent amount of money at the box office, many attempts at producing a sequel kept on failing for one reason or another. Eventually, all the plans to launch a Constantine sequel were dropped. At some point, Guillermo del Toro was planning to launch a live-action Justice League Dark movie where Constantine would have been the primary protagonist. But those plans also got crushed, and he moved on to create Pacific Rim instead. Brightburn, 2019. After struggling with infertility for a while, Tori Breyer is finally blessed with a baby boy and names him Brandon. He is bright, talented, and curious about the whereabouts of the rest of the world. In a sudden turn of events, as Brandon nears adolescence, he becomes absorbed by a certain darkness. This worries Tori to a large extent, and starts doubting her son. Soon, Brandon gives in to his sinister urges, putting those near him in grave danger. David Yarovesky's Brightburn is a fantastic take on a horrifying what-if scenario, where a character almost similar to Superman turns toward the dark side. It's written by both Brian Gunn and his cousin, Mark Gunn, who begin with a mysterious Superman narrative, but turn it around 180 degrees by injecting it with a dark turn. Brandon's character, exploring and taking control of his urges, results in several gory deaths and inventive sequences that bring a sigh, followed by a hushed silence within viewers. Furthermore, the film used the CGI smartly and cautiously, only to represent the feeling of fear and terror in the characters. That came out really well on the screen. Some notable artists, such as Elizabeth Banks, David Denman, and newcomer Jackson Dunn, gave us no reason to complain in the acting department. After the movie ends, you will see mentions of evil Wonder Woman, evil Aquaman, and a horrifying bat creature that makes you want more of this universe. Unfortunately, there's no other project that's under work right now that would expand on these stories.
Rick, I know you did. But let's pretend you didn't.
Darkman, 1990. Peyton Westlake is a scientist who has made a revolutionary discovery. He has discovered a way to help burn victims by creating synthetic skin. Although this has the ability to revolutionize the method of skin grafting, it contains a minor glitch. If the synthetic skin is exposed to light for more than 100 minutes, it begins degrading. Soon, Peyton is attacked by some dangerous gangsters who work for Robert Durant, the city's most notorious crime lord. He's left terribly burned and assumed to be dead. He vows revenge on Durant and his men as he can disguise himself as anyone now due to the synthetic skin. But the drawback is that he can keep each disguise for only 100 minutes. Darkman, directed by Sam Raimi, would have all the makings of a perfect comic book series had it been adapted from one. It contains a set of overblown characters engaging in violence stylized in a certain way to fit the film's narrative. Liam Neeson outstandingly plays Dr. Peyton Westlake, with his character having a blend of both pathos and extreme righteousness. Sam Raimi skillfully creates a fantasy world throughout the film, filled with mayhem as the Doctor navigates about. Although it has a few plot holes, Neeson's charismatic demeanor, even under the burnt, revenge-stricken hero, sways the audience. Raimi has drawn inspiration from all directions, including The Fly, The Mummy, and The Hulk, to conjure this film. It also contains themes of harshly inflicted psychological discomfort that is induced by physical pain. The idea that mere violence can unleash this ugly side of the human body is pretty thought-provoking for the viewer.
You motherfucker! Is that gasoline I smell?
No, man. No! No!
The Crow, 1994. After Eric and his fiancée Shelley were murdered, Eric Draven, a guitarist, is resurrected with a crow's help. The crow then guides Eric and eventually leads him to the people that murdered him. The murderers are a lowly street gang consisting of Tintin, Funboy, and Skank. They're led by T-Bird. Eric reaches these thugs one by one and avenges his and Shelley's death by murdering some of their members. Soon, T-Bird and Skank go to Top Dollar, a top-level gangster who's in charge of their gang, for help. He soon learns about the legend of the Crow and the secret to Eric's invincibility. Alex Proyas' The Crow, starring Brandon Lee as the protagonist, is a work of visual style in the most stunning way possible. The making of this movie is both unfortunate and ironic, since Lee was shot dead by accident during the filming of one of its scenes. Popular opinion entails that had Brandon Lee furthered his career, he would have turned out to be a very successful action star. The movie's superb production value and breathtaking locations will somewhat remind viewers of the desolate urban wastelands from Blade Runner. It also has a pinch of the gothic extravagances from Batman, since the film's Crow can't be deemed the liveliest superhero. It is convincingly set in a dingy and forbidding world, designed by the film's sets. It uses special effects and miniatures that are courtesy of cinematographer Dariusz Wolski. His study of comic books and graphic novels adds a unique spin on the film's visual style, which is evident from its innovative camera angles. Spawn, 1997. Al Simmons is an assassin who has been cheated and killed by his evil boss, Jason Wynn. After dying, he makes a deal with the devil to return to Earth as Spawn and see his wife. In a turn of events, the devil's minion, who calls himself the Clown, orders Al to kill Wynn. What Spawn is unaware of is that Jason Wynn has also made a deal with the devil to destroy the world with an evil virus that will be the starting point of Armageddon to occur, allowing hell to attack heaven. After learning this, Spawn is now stuck in the ultimate dilemma between good and evil. Spawn is a comic book character that gained crazy popularity in the 90s, and the studios tried to bank on this craze by developing a decent budget superhero horror film. The movie is not bad per se, but it didn't grasp the best parts of the character in the way it was supposed to. What drives viewers most is the drastic change in Spawn's appearance once he returns to Earth. The costume and makeup effects for this film are commendable. Some of the most creative and imaginative minds in the industry have worked on this film. Mark Depay, who made his directorial debut with this film, has previously worked on the digital effects for the dinosaurs in Jurassic Park. and the shape-shifting villain of Terminator 2, Judgment Day. The character of Violator, aka the Clown, played by John Leguizamo, is the best part of the movie. He is nasty, disgusting, and equally terrifying foe to Spawn. But if you really want to experience the world of Spawn beyond the comics, then go with the adult animated TV series by HBO. That released in the 90s. It is phenomenal.
We ever get out of this? We gotta talk.
Hellboy 2: The Golden Army, 2008. After he saves the world from the evil Russian mystic Grigory Rasputin, Hellboy becomes the strangest superhero protector of humankind anyone has seen before. He lives with the struggle to accept that the Bureau of Paranormal Research and Defense's operations must be kept covert. To add to his stress, Nuada, the powerful elven prince, desperately seeks to retrieve a golden crown's fragments. This crown has the special abilities to command the entire Golden Army, which consists of an omnipotent group of clockwork warriors who can destroy humanity. Now, Hellboy, Liz's brother-in-arms, and the ectoplasmic being Johann Kraus are Earth's only hope to protect everyone and save humanity. Guillermo del Toro's Hellboy 2: The Golden Army makes for a thrilling watch as a superhero fantasy movie accompanied by the horror of supernatural beings. It intelligently uses CGI animation throughout the film, especially during the climax that sees a nail-biting showdown between Hellboy and Prince Nuada. The film has certain influences drawn from Star Wars, which might not be evident to all viewers, but Star Wars fans will definitely identify. The adaptation of Mike Mignola's comics is an exciting sequel with a sense of humor. The best thing about it lies in the fact that it has emerged from a visionary mind but constitutes characters with typical traits of everyday human beings. Rather than being ambitious and always on their toes, they're laid back and likable. They even have basic problems, such as the romantic subplot between Hellboy and Liz. Blade, 1998. Blade lives in a world where vampires freely walk the earth. Ironically, his goal is to wipe out all vampires away from the face of the earth. Soon, Blade encounters Dr. Karen Jensen, being bitten by a vampire, and immediately goes to her rescue. He fights the vampire and takes Dr. Jensen with him to his hideout. The vampire who executed the attack, named Quinn, returns to his master and informs him about the incident. What no one knows is that the Master is planning a massive surprise for the human race. Blade is the first blockbuster hit that Marvel got under its belt. Wesley Snipes' portrayal of Blade felt like he was born to play this role. This movie released at a time when the whole world of cinema had almost given up on creating big-budget comic book-based movies. The atmosphere that this movie creates will make you feel like you are seeing these characters inside the panels of a comic book. Yes, it's actually that good. Stephen Norrington's Blade uses out-of-the-ordinary camera techniques, outlandish costumes, and sets that might appear over-the-top at first, but match perfectly the ambience that the movie is trying to evoke. The stunts, the fight scenes, the special effects, and even CGI is top-notch. If you haven't watched this, you are being unfair to yourself. Faust, Love of the Damned, 2000. John Jasper is an artist who sells his soul to a mysterious entity calling himself M. He does this so that he can seek revenge on the people who were responsible for his girlfriend's death. It doesn't take him long to realize that everything comes with a price, when he is transformed into a hideous demon with horns and has a strong thirst for murder. He soon learns that M's plan is to unleash the homunculus, a gigantic, monstrous lizard. This will open the gates to hell. It's now up to Jasper to stop this event before it induces chaos and an apocalypse. Faust, Love of the Damned, directed by Brian Yuzna, is based on the comic book of the same name by Tim Vigil. Most of the film's violence is combined with comic book and cartoon-style humor, which helps to lighten the mood. The protagonist, Faust, is a decent character who throws schlocky one-liners and puns towards his victims like Freddy Krueger while attacking them. However, this takes an intriguing angle because viewers are aware that he was once an innocent man in love, and this side of him has only been unleashed as a consequence of losing the love of his life. Don't go into this movie expecting a lot because it's made on a shoestring budget, and it kind of throws the movie off the tracks. It looks cheap, but the content is decent and entertaining. You need to experience this movie with an open mind to truly appreciate this film.
Shit! He's on the roof! He's on the roof! Get him up! He's gonna kill both of us! Swerve the car, Bozo! Swerve
The Toxic Avenger, 1984. Melvin is a mop boy in the Tromaville Health Club. He blindly and naively trusts the club's hedonistic and vain members so much that this trust leads him inside a vat of toxic waste. This has catastrophic effects, since Melvin undergoes transmogrification and unleashes an alter ego. This marks the birth of the Toxic Avenger. This soon leads to a local mop boy turning into a superhero. He saves everyone by fighting corruption, thugs, and bullies. The Toxic Avenger is a trauma entertainment classic directed by Michael Hertz and Lloyd Kaufman. This 80s gem serves as the foundation for the Trauma's trashy movie empire. It introduced an iconic superhero in the form of the Toxic Avenger that never tries to be Batman or Superman. Instead, it's quirky and looks absolutely disgusting. Although the film's concept might appear silly to some, it remains incredibly entertaining. It contains fantastic makeup, special effects, and stunts. This shows in the earnings it made at the box office. Even amidst gratuitous nudity, extreme violence, and explosive gore, it turned out to be a considerably decent film with its standard cartoon sound effects and anti-political demeanor. The movie was so successful that it gave birth to multiple sequels and an animated show aimed at the kids. Swamp Thing, 1982. Dr. Alec Holland is hidden away in the depths of a murky swamp. Here, he's trying to experiment and create a new species that combines an animal and a plant. This organism is capable of adapting and thriving in the harshest climactic conditions. Things take a turn for the worst when he finds himself a subject of his own experimentation and transforms into the Swamp Thing. This was caused by the evil Anton Arcane. Desperate for the formula and attempts to capture the Swamp Thing, this leads to a massive cat-and-mouse chase that ends up with Swamp Thing facing Arcane in the end. Wes Craven's Swamp Thing is based on the Vertigo DC Comics character of the same name. Swamp Thing is much less violent compared to the other 80s horror and slasher films, including Wes Craven's past work. It's filled with freshness and winsome humor combined with Craven's inspiration from other monster and mad scientist horror movies. A green wetsuit creates Swamp Thing's costume with things stuck to it. These and the rest of the movie's practical effects were all far superior to the schlocky ones made during its time. Furthermore, the actors deliver top-notch performances, much to the delight of the viewers. After the success of the first two Superman movies, DC thought the next superhero should be a less popular character rather than Batman or Wonder Woman. The movie was a decent success at the box office and was applauded by the critics as well.
Your soul is stained by the blood of the innocent. Feel their pain.
Ghost Rider, 2007. Motorcyclist Johnny Blaze finds out about his father's illness. He makes a deal with Mephistopheles, selling his soul for his beloved father's health. However, the devil betrays Johnny, and his father is killed in a motorcycle accident during an exhibition. Johnny leaves the exhibition and disappears from his town, friends, and even his girlfriend, Roxanne. Several years later, Johnny becomes a famous motorcyclist who risks his life performing the same dangerous and life-threatening stunts. One day, he runs into Roxanne, who is now a TV journalist. Mephistopheles promises to return Johnny's soul if he turns into the Ghost Rider and beats Mephistopheles' son, Blackheart. trying to take over the world by stealing several evil souls to unleash hell on Earth. Ghost Rider feels like an incredible B-movie that, despite having a silly premise, portrays a kick-ass protagonist. Although it contains cheesy CGI, viewers see an unlikely mix of comic books and theology coming into play. It presents an intriguing scenario where Satan becomes a weapon used by good to defeat evil. Nicolas Cage plays the protagonist with utmost intensity, and while Eva Mendes plays his love interest effectively, it has the conventional plot where the heroine needs to be rescued by the hero in an action-filled sequence, but the execution is done in such a manner that it will keep you entertained throughout the film. New Mutants, 2020. Danielle Moonstar experiences a near-death experience after a strange tornado. When she awakens, she finds herself in an abandoned research facility run by a mysterious Dr. Cecilia Reyes. Dr. Reyes introduces Danny to 4 other teenagers who are just as weird as Danny. She wants to protect these teenagers until they can fully control their extraordinary abilities. However, despite their knowledge about being treated and cared for, the teenagers soon begin experiencing terrible hallucinations. They are now confused about whether they are being treated or stuck as prisoners. Josh Boone's The New Mutants serves as the final chapter in the X-Men series and arrives on the big screen after a long wait. Most of the film's action occurs indoors in the research facility. This is showcased in a dark and crumbly setting that frightens the viewers and provides them with a thrill at the same time. Based on a comic series, the film contains an exciting, larger-than-life feeling that was also found in the original work. Each one of the teenage characters showcases great performances. It serves as a nod to general teen horror films that have been created over the years with a modern-day twist. There's also an interesting psychological angle in this movie that one can see within all X-Men films. Still, none of the villains appear as multidimensional as the teenagers in this movie. To be really honest, the circumstances in which this movie was wrapping up was unfavorable, to say the least, and it got delayed to the level where fans just stopped caring about it. On the other hand, Disney acquired Fox, and that deal kind of killed the future of existing X-Men universe. And that lack of interest can be observed in the editing and other post-production work of this film. But still, the movie was initially created with a lot of passion, and it's a fantastic horror take on the X-Men universe.
And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks everyone.